Welcome to our organised queen training. As an organised queen, I've written notes, so I'm going to be reading off those. That's just how I roll, sat on my dining room floor. I'm going to break this into 3 sections. I want it to feel really empowering. I don't want it to feel like I'm giving you another task. So stay with me. I'm going to lead you through some of the best things that I've learned personally. These were things I just had to kind of figure out the hard way, learn through training, learn through things I'd seen, trial and error. They've definitely worked. I've coached on this a lot. And if anyone has got a crazy brain with a gazillion tabs open, like it is me. So I think that can be quite helpful at the start of something to know that I'm not just naturally really like orderly. I've really had to work at this. So basically, if I can do it, you can do it, and just take what you want from it. And I hope it helps for wherever you are in your life. So as ever, 80% of this is mindset. I'd recommend getting a pen and paper. I'd recommend making some notes and some commitments to yourself during this. Maybe you want to listen to it first and do that second. But like anything in the world, our mindset and our approach to this is all the difference. The strategy is 20% of it. Like the strategy will work if you work. So I really want to start with that place. And the first one is awareness, and it's language. Everyone's going to be on a totally different spectrum with their approach to organization. You might just be like, I'm actually pretty there. I just want to see how someone else does it. I want some tips. Or you might be like, this is just taking over my life and I really don't know where to start. The first thing I'm going to encourage you to do is approach that with neutrality. So although this probably isn't what you're expecting me to say, like the way that we speak to ourselves about our organization, the way that we approach it is going to be the deal breaker. In October 2022, I set a challenge to myself to drop a word a month, right? And the word that I dropped is busy. I've never used it since. I'm not actually kidding. Followed by overwhelm. This is just my journey, so I'm just going to share this because I think it's going to help someone. I stopped using the word busy because I felt like I had completely abused my relationship with it. I was identifying as it. I was like just driving myself into everything was busy, overwhelmed, hectic. So obviously I embodied that energy. And I had 3 kids on my own and 3 businesses at the time. And I was like, I'm either going to have a mental breakdown or I'm going to have to change my approach here somehow. And it was the best thing I ever did and still do, because I was like, I'm just going to see what's possible even for a week by changing my language around my life. And what I found was really possible is I had to use another word. So that's when I've shared that before with women, they're like, well, if I can't say busy, what do I say? And I'm like, that's actually like the most beautiful part of the challenge, is because I was no longer allowed to say that, I started actually identifying more with myself with how I was actually feeling or what I was actually doing. Or with my makeup business at the time, instead of being like, yeah, I'm really busy, which I would have related as a good thing, I was like, oh, it's thriving, like it's going so well, or I've seen loads of clients this week, I'm loving it. And my conversations were so much more interesting, not only with myself, but with other people. Like the energy I brought to conversations was so much more interesting. And I always say, us being busy is the least interesting thing about us. And it feels hectic, like actually saying the word there now, it feels so gross in my body to say it. It's not a nice word for us women, you know? And same with overwhelm. I used to be like, I'm so overwhelmed. And it was almost like a band-aid solution, because if I got to say that, then I got to move on. I didn't have to deal with the problem because I'd said to myself or to someone what was wrong. So I'd be like, I'd call myself out on shit more. I'd be like, I actually just really need to get some sleep, or I actually really need to just write a list and work through some life admin that I've been avoiding. I actually really need some support. I actually really need some rest. I actually think I've taken on some things that I should have said no to. So mindset, approach, language, making yourself good or bad, or thinking that we're good or bad at it. I honestly can't urge you enough to deal with that initially. Just be kind to yourself, because this whole thing is not about working harder or taking on more. if you follow the pattern, it will be less. It's going to buy you time, and it's going to buy you headspace, which is the most important thing, because protecting our mental health is one of the most important things in the whole world. So choose your intention, I would say, to begin with. You might want to write that down. So that might be a goal, but goal can feel quite hard. And it might just be like, I'd love to just free up some time and create some ease in my life. If you approach this, especially if you're quite far from this at the moment, with like force, discipline, it's just going to feel really icky. Just approach it more as like a devotion to yourself, a devotion to that intention, like fun exploration. And that way you will be consistent, because there's no point doing this for one day and then giving up. It's not the point of it. So the first few things that I really want to say that I've learned from being this way more is the compound effect is incredible. Like, the compound effect of using that previous language felt stressy in my body. My cortisol levels were higher. I was a more shouty mom. I was disengaged. I couldn't be present. I couldn't prioritize. Like, my head couldn't think straight. So I never got the really important stuff that moved my businesses and my family forward done. I was so caught up, and I didn't have the muscle and skill and awareness of not taking jobs on or saying yes to things that actually really weren't aligned. That compound effect that you're going to get from this will be amazing, because you'll be able to drive that ship in whatever direction you want to. If you want to create more ease, if you want to create more calm, if you want to achieve something big, the compound effect of these little things is going to be what you've always wanted your whole life. How you do anything is how you do everything. Your body knows and sees everything. It knows what your underwear drawer looks like. It knows what your wardrobe feels like. It knows if you are in the habit of doing the dishwasher in the evening and you wake up and you feel, oh, nice. It knows if you're doing your skin routine. Like, how we do anything is how we do everything. But sometimes that gets demonized. Like, you can't say that anymore because it's putting too much on people. But I disagree. Like, people just want to feel good, and it's all in our approach. I live by the mantra that if it takes less than 5 minutes, I'm going to get it done. And I create little blocks of time for that. So, you know, like when the house just builds up, like 3 kids, I'm like, or in the day, first of all, I never let more than a day build up, ever. Always resetting rooms, resetting the day, never creating like a day hangover into the next day. All about that future self-protection, like saying I love you to your future self, like, I've got you, honey. I switched the toilet roll. I got the bags out for last night, you know, all those kinds of things. But and that leads me on to my last point, which is really, really protecting your energy to receive, which is something that I do a lot of work on outside of this. So So I only raise those things to be totally supportive, to let us make an intentional choice about them, because it's actually factually proven that our environment, and if it's cluttered, if it feels stressy, same as our headspace, will prevent receiving. So you'll be watching this training because you're wanting to receive something, more business success, more clarity, more love, more finances, you know, more experiences in your life, whatever that is. So it's so important to highlight that. Is if we live in clutter, both physical and metaphorical, it completely prevents our frequency to receive. So approach that with fun. So onto the strategy. I watched this video on Google on how to do my Google Calendar, and that's what I did. Number 1, it took me 15 minutes. Downloaded Google Calendar. That's the one I use. You can use your iPhone one, whatever works. She said use Google Calendar. I just did as I was told. And the first thing I did was I blocked out all the stuff that I'm always doing. So I was constantly overloading myself, like booking stuff in when it was completely unrealistic. Like, I was going to have been on the school run, or do you know what I mean? So the first thing I did was block out that time, but not only the time where I had to do stuff, like, again, it's that step of kindness to myself. Like, I need 15 minutes to like recalibrate before I leave to get the kids. I want to be totally present with the kids for the 2 hours after I get them home. I want to switch off after 7, like I'm out. 9 times out of 10, I'm not doing it if it's after 7 p.m. It's so important. It's my time, whatever that is. So the first thing that I would recommend doing is block everything in your Google Calendar. You'll be able to just YouTube this. That you do on a weekly basis, gymnastics clubs, appointments, nails. And this is how you really start to factor things in. Like if you're like, I'm not being consistent with my workouts, that's having a big compound effect that is not positive for me. It's not making me feel good. My health is really important. If it's not written down, if it's not factored in, it isn't going to happen. Don't promise it to yourself. So if you say you're going to do something to yourself, or you say you want to do it to yourself, either factor it in, or I'd really recommend just not saying it's something you're going to do, because you're breaking that inner confidence with yourself every time it doesn't happen. And you're becoming that friend that we've all had in the past, where you make a plan and you know they're going to cancel, and you get that icky feeling in your body and you look at them as if, I love you, but you're someone that I know is going to flake on me. That's the relationship that we really want to heal. So if you're going to do it, if it's something you like to get done, if you like to get your nails done, whatever it is, factor it into that diary. The second thing that's going to provide is a realistic view of how much time you actually do have. So you're going to be like, right now I know what I'm actually working with. So what do I need to let go of? Like, what school WhatsApp groups, or what can I delegate, or like, what can I do to free up my time? You know, like now we know what we're working with. So that's the first thing that is super important. And then every single thing that I book in, I put in my Google Calendar, like every time, like reminders. Say someone's like, can you contact me in 3 weeks about that? I'll put it straight in. Whatever it is, because it's freeing up this. Because if my noggin is clear, I can be creative, I can think, inspiration comes easily, I don't feel stressed, I sleep well. So if it's in the Google Calendar, it's got a reminder on it. Sometimes I set alarms, then I'm like, happy days, my phone PA is going to let me know about that. And then I do this. Also learned this on Instagram. Okay, so as we can see, my nails do need doing. So it's inventory. This is what I do every day. Okay. So it says Monday. I write, it's not fancy, it's on a piece of paper, scrap paper or whatever, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way through to like 8 or whatever time you want to jam with. I usually always write my intention for the day. Would really recommend it. Keeps your head in the zone. So maybe you're really working on, again, like ease, feeling calm, collected, prioritizing, being efficient. It's really nice to have at the top of the paper. And the first thing to write is, if the whole house burns down, what is the one thing that you are getting done today? What is the one really important thing? Is it a project? Is it like whatever it is? I would say 1 to 3, because it depends what that is. That might be one thing that takes your whole day. I even do this on the days I have the kids, by the way. It's such a chilled version of it. It's super empty, but it helps me more than ever. I literally, when I have my kids, my brain shuts down. Like I can't even think, but I have to think, because that's what we have to do. We have to get on with it. So it helps a lot, because when they're in the playroom, I'm not thinking about what I need to do and then not doing the important stuff. I'm just like, okay, cool. So the 1 to 3 super important things that you are doing. You can factor your workouts in here. You're going to start getting realistic with how much time that's actually taking. You can factor your meals in. Number 1, making sure you're looking after yourself. I know it's so basic, but I have worked with thousands of women. I know how important this kind of thing is. And this is how you stop those things slipping, namely yourself. So then I put short jobs, longer jobs, people. I always have a people section. I work with people. I find that really easy. There's always a couple of people that I want to get in touch with or say hi to or message about something. So personally, that's just what I do. I've just made some notes to myself here. I actually have lately been highlighting the priorities, because anything that gets left on this that's not done, which happens every day for me, I just transfer over onto next day's list. That's it. Don't stress about it. But I've been highlighting the ones that I'm like, this is what we're doing today list. And then because the other ones are short, I like to work with my energy in the day. So I leave a lot of blank space, because That's how I roll. So if I need to do something creative, if I need to record something like this, there are going to be certain times in the day where like that is just not what I want to do right now. So I keep it quite flexible. Some people keep it really rigid, do what works for you, but I will find those like 10-minute breaks in the day or like unexpected little pockets of time. So if I've then got 3 like life admin jobs on there, I'm like, I can just do those quickly, you know. I get asked a lot when I show women things like this, what they do with like life and work. My life and work and family are one thing. My life is one thing. I am one thing. I don't separate them. I have boundaries in the times that I take on work tasks or life tasks, but I'm a mum of 3 kids. It's important to me to stay balanced. It's important to me to have like complete freedom and flexibility and live my life in the day. So personally, I combine my life and my business stuff. Because personally for me, that's how I've always stayed on top of things and not get like super stressed out by like parking tickets. What is it with parking tickets? So that's what I do there. Now you really want to focus on something that's going to hold you accountable to your new goals, if that's what you want to do. So if you're like, oh my God, genius, this is what I'm going to do. Systems in place is important. Maintaining the system, maintaining that new habit is a skill in itself. So decide something, you know, even answer this after the call, like, what am I going to do to keep myself accountable? What am I going to do to make sure this is all done? I would recommend maybe putting in your calendar with a reminder, a 1-week audit and a 1-month audit. Every week, separately, I have a this week list. So professionally written, isn't it? Love it. So I often have a month one or just this week, and I just call it like a master list, and it's just up in the kitchen. Then when I'm writing my list, I'm like, I'm going to do that job off it. I'm going to slowly chip away at it because it's always an overwhelming list. We can call it an overwhelming list. So it's better if you can just take bits from it and know that you're getting through it, but also it's not like one big unrealistic day. So every Friday I wrap up all my lists. I make sure I've got next week kind of together, every month, you know, all those kinds of things. So I would do something like that, and it really helps you to kind of combine your life. And other than that, just checking my notes, to summarize, I would go away, see which bits you're going to take from that. And just especially if you're utilizing this training to fit in a part-time job, okay, so building a part-time business, I would be really realistic. So be like, I'd like to allocate half an hour a day. Where am I going to put that? When am I going to put it on my list? How am I going to factor it into my diary? And how do I really work with my own like creative energies? So am I perhaps, so say you are like, how do I make content for my online business? Or I factored that in for half an hour a day. Just be really real with yourself about how you work, okay? So if you find that you're more creative, like at the weekends or in the mornings or after you've worked out or something, do you need to write like a master list of all the amazing content ideas that you want to do, or write one in your phone or something, so that when you come to your allocated half an hour in the day, you're not then forcing that creativity out of you, you know? Like when women are empowered to work with their own energy, their own creativity, their own like get shit done energy and their creativity and whatever else, is when the magic absolutely happens. So use that not in a rigid way, use it in a way that really feels expansive for you. And it really will help you see where you're spending your time, that you're like, why am I investing all my time scrolling on whatever? And what do I really want to do? And what could I really be achieving with like tiny incremental compounds that build to something? I hope that helps. And if you've got any questions, reach out to me. If you're in my team and you've watched that and you're like, I get it, how do I now apply it to myself? Then let me know and I can help. Have a beautiful day.